Okay, this is Gaming at the Round Table. I'm Maverick with Jojo and Crystal, and we've got a couple of topics for the month of September in 2024. So, one of the big ones here that's unfolding, we'll see where it goes in the future, is we're going to call it a lawsuit, but it's a complaint, I believe is the official term. So, the European Consumer Organization and 22 of its members, which is just like other countries, France, Germany, and so on, filed to the European Network of Consumer Authorities against many big name companies, including Epic Games, EA, Roblox, Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, Mojang. Interestingly enough, that's Minecraft, right? Supercell, which is owned by China's Tencent, and Tencent is known for being like a huge game company from China, and they're global. And then Ubisoft. There may be more, there probably are more, but those are huge names. And so, what's the lawsuit about? Crystal, you first found this, but at a high level, fact check me here. It's basically accusing these companies of deceptive practices, especially targeting children,
Yes.
and promoting them to spend money in a way that they don't know how much they're spending. I think that was the gist of it.
I believe so, yeah. That seems about right.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue that they're claiming is that it's aiming more towards kids,
Oh,
which I think is the bigger issue in it.
it's
It's
aiming towards kids and it's turning the kids into game addicts. I think the game addicts part is a really big part of the issue that these parents are having with their kids.
I mean, I
yeah,
think that kind of surpasses the argument of it being like the microtransaction kick a dead horse argument. I think its parents are becoming aware that it's causing them to get that the same feeling that you would feel like if you go into a casino and you hit like a slot machine where you get that rush and then you're like, I want to keep doing this, but they're getting it very, very early.
yeah, a dopamine cycle, which games are designed to provide that cycle. That's what makes games not only addictive but more importantly fun, right? If they weren't fun, we wouldn't play them. So there is a balance there, but I think the issue, as you guys have noted, is twofold. One is the monetary side, right? Deceptive practices to promote effectively gambling or spending money in a way that you don't really easily perceive the money you're spending. Made
Mhm.
worse by the second part, which is that its primary audience or audiences include children, if not are specifically majorly made of children, right? It
Yeah.
sounds like weird, but like kids are the primary target audience, and they're obfuscating how much money the kids are spending because you think about it, right? Like without naming any names, just think of 10 or so big name games right now that are popular, especially if they're free. And kids tend to play free games because they're broke, right? Whatever game you're thinking of, I can almost guarantee that not only is there a cash up of some kind, but to spend your money in that shop, you probably have to purchase a currency. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not a one-to-one map, right? You spend $10, you get 200 tokens, I'm going to say. And then you spend those tokens to buy a character or a weapon or a level or whatever. And so that obfuscation, it's there for a reason. They're not just doing it to make it more difficult. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing it because it promotes people to spend more money mindlessly because they have 20,000 tokens. So, I'm just spend 5,000 because I got 20,000, right? But if that equates to $50 or even $5, right? It's just so hard to track, made worse by the fact that we're dealing with kids as a
Yeah.
primary audience. So, regardless of how this pans out, I think it goes to the topic of, is the fact that we target the primary audience being underage people something that's unhealthy in the industry? And in what way might it be healthy? I honestly, I'm going to struggle to defend the opposite side.
It's just
Right?
not.
Like, I'm one of those people that's like gotchas are gambling, and if you can't let a kid into a casino, I don't think you should allow children to make in-game transactions, especially if they're gotcha in nature. And
Mm-hmm.
this suit isn't targeting gotchas, right? This suit is targeting all of these game developers and major companies, And it's not saying anything about what type of monetization. It's just saying all of y'all are doing deceptive things and you're targeting our children, and it needs to stop. And it reminds me, this is the last thing I'll say before I pass it on here. It reminds me of the cigarette campaigns from 20, 30 years ago. I remember being a child and legit as a kid. Yep. Bingo. You could go buy cigarette candies and cigarette gum that wasn't nicotine.
You still can.
Do they still sell them?
But there have been limitations put in place, and more specifically, the actual nicotine products, just to defend my point here, they used to be things like bubblegum, lollipop, very kid-targeted flavoring. It wasn't just, I think the most common ones now, like menthol, right? Like, it was very much geared towards kids, to where I think I even saw like a candy grape at one point when I was a kid on legit cigarettes or something very similar. And so there were these campaigns by people who were like, you're clearly targeting people that don't have the mental capacities to make big life decisions, and you need to stop. And obviously that gained traction, at least in the US, if not mainly across the world. I think that's what's happening now in the gaming industry with the way transactions are performed.
It would be nice to see, oh, hey, if you want this character, it's $20.
Yeah, like end of story.
Yeah, just like the flat like rate of whatever it is.
Yeah, and even if they would be like, hey, you can pull on this character banner, but for every pull you do, it's $1. At least then I'm a lot more aware of how much money I'm spending. Not that I would spend money in a game, because I don't have
lies. So I think a counter argument that's probably pretty weak, but I'm going to try to make it is, well, what if you want to earn in-game currency? Are they supposed to just make that dollars? And there's no way they're going to give you a whole dollar at a pop. I can already think of a counter argument, but maybe that's something they say is like, oh, we're not trying to make it hard.
If the games that I play, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say Genshin Impact because that is the one that comes to my head. If I have Primo Gems and I have Crystal whatever the heck they're called, which is money, why can't they just do that, but with money?
Yeah.
I think the key in all of it is the term predatory.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's going back to kids. As adults, it's tricky to kind of understand, and I can see why people get duped in it. But a child, especially if they're under, say, like 10, to try to explain that to them, unless they're pretty quick on their feet, which this generation of kids is very, very quick compared, I don't know that they could completely understand it, even being a quicker kid.
I want to interject just for a second. Sorry. And this is very purposeful here. I don't think it's enough to say that an intelligent kid can understand, or even average kids can understand, because they also understand the effects of alcohol. They can comprehend things way before they have the maturity to make decisions about things, even though they can baseline comprehend. And that's something that I focus on a lot, is like, we have all these other laws, not because children cannot conceive of what we're talking about, but because they're not at a maturity level to make those decisions. And I think that should be included in this conversation.
But that's why it circles back to the predatory argument of they're taking advantage of a gap in it. And that gap is the maturity to understand the true level or weight of whatever that choice is.
Yeah.
Because if you say it's $1, okay, it's $1. But if you look at a game that costs $70 to $120, and I'm using the pay for games, there's $70 to $120, upwards to, I'd say $200 depending on the edition that you buy it at. And then you have a kid that gets this game, so the parents already paid that amount. And then you add in skins. I don't know a game that is currently in the market that has a skin that is under $1.
No.
It
doesn't exist.
Okay.
And if it does, it's very rare.
It's rare. So then you add, so you're already at $200 because we're going to just stop at the top part of it.
Maybe Minecraft.
If it's an old one, maybe.
Yeah.
But again, it's the if whatever.
Even then, Mojang's in this suit, so
So you have $200 already done. And then again, they're going to come out with new skins and new packs at least every other month inside of a year. So say it's 6, just because we're going to do it every other 2. And then they're going to spend at least another $10 to $50 every 2 months. It's insane to think about. Like, again, as a developer ourselves, it's like, yeah, like you're making money and then let's run away. Like that feels wrong. And again, predatory, because you're looking for a market that doesn't fully understand what they're spending.
I'm glad to see that a lot of these companies are starting to get a lot of backlash for the things they're doing, like selling skins for $20 or selling a bundle of things for $500. You know, like, I'm glad to see that a lot of these games are starting to be dropped, I would say. Like, I know some people are still playing them, but they're not making in-game purchases like they used to, because it used to be like not warranted, but like you got what you paid for. Like you felt a little bit more
the
balanced.
Special editions were actually special editions where you had some physical item or asset to like have. Even when the game was done, you had a collector's item, you had something to keep. Now this is digital, so it's comparable to the crypto / NFT. Just
don't get me
started. And again, I'm just skirting that. I'm not going into this argument, but I'm just skirting that.
So I think we risk going too far back in our podcast history. We clearly collectively have pretty negative opinions or at least strong opinions about how predatory the current gaming industry is.
Very.
But let's reframe it to the topic, right? Which is, I would say that it is very healthy for the industry, regardless of what happens as an outcome, that these lawsuits are starting to, or these sanctions, whatever they are starting to happen.
Yeah.
And that they're targeting the major players, right? It goes to show that enough people are starting to see the breadcrumbs, right? It's no longer an argument that, I'm on Twitter or wherever, and me and this one other person disagree about, well, teach your kids about finances and all this. Yes, there is the perfect world answer for everything, but that was true back with cigarettes too, right?
Yeah.
The industry's finally starting to shift to where the consumers, the parents, the people paying the money are seeing, hey, regardless of what should be, this is unhealthy and we need to take action and we need to do something to protect our kids who don't have the maturity to be making these decisions. Hell, adults don't have the maturity. I know adults. I have myself said once, instead of buying that meal from that restaurant, I could save that money and get 10 pulls in this video game. I have said this, and I'm a financially stable person. No one that knows me thinks I'm really bad with money or just haphazard of a decision maker at all, period. If it can happen to people like me, it easily can happen to anybody else. And it is. And unfortunately, these kids, another way to frame it too is like, in my opinion, it's not just that we're targeting a vulnerable audience, which feels seedy. It's also the fact that the business practice itself, regardless of kids or not kids, it's clearly designed to take advantage of people, let alone kids. So I'm really glad that they're leading this with the kids part.
Yeah. So there was something that Joe mentioned about digital games. On that note, did you guys hear about the PS5 Pro?
That was a smooth transition, man. Yeah. Smooth. Talk about it.
Well,
No, I haven't heard of it. What happened?
So for starters, let's talk price. $700.
Now this is the PS5 Pro, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
$700.
So wasn't the PS5 when it came out going for like $500?
Yeah.
I could have sworn the PS2 went for $700.
$700, the
when it first
PS2.
came out. Let me look it up, but I'm
Yeah,
almost
I need
certain
a
it was
fact
like
check on that.
it was
I
ridiculously
think
up there.
I
Like,
don't
it
think
was up
it
there.
was the PS2. I think it was the PS3 that came
I
out
Was it
with
the
don't
PS3?
know.
$700
Yeah, it
I
was a
couldn't have.
PS3.
because it came out with the Blu-ray as well.
Yeah, that's what it was. I
Okay.
knew it was one of the like. It wasn't the second. That was me going way too far back because I was thinking of Tekken. But PS3, I believe, was 700 when it came out
I was
because
gonna
it had
say
the
when the
Blu-ray player.
PS2 came out, dude, that would have like bankrupt people.
No, it was 500.
Oh, was it 5?
Oh wait, introductory price. So it's $500 for the 20 gigabytes, or
20 gigs.
$600 for the 60 gigabytes.
Okay,
Dude,
it
those
was
numbers
close.
are.
Close, yeah. But the $700 for the PlayStation Pro, PS5 Pro, this does not come with a disc drive.
Right, so it's digital only.
It's
And that was the
digital
transition
only.
you were making.
Um,
So
It's-
that's the. Oh,
it's 2 terabytes.
that's good because you're going to have to download everything, so it better be huge.
Yeah, it's got solid state drive. It's supposed to come with some AI technology that apparently like boosts what you're seeing on the screen. The easiest way I could put this is that you're not going to see a difference.
Well,
You're
I'm
not.
not because I don't have a TV that can get. Well, you know, I don't have an 8K TV or whatever it is currently.
Even then they were saying like the average human eyes could not really see a difference, and I'm like, what's the point then? Like, I'd rather just wait for the next system in general, and it better be a big difference and not just, hey, we're gonna make the graphics better and we're gonna take away the disc drive,
Disk
which,
drive.
mind you,
Most
they're
systems are
selling the
going
disc
to the-
drive separately.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad to
So-
hear that they are still selling it.
Yeah, but
Not so
$700 for a game or a
Well,
console.
if it's 700 without the disc drive, and then you add in the disc drive, you're looking at.
Well, how much are the disk drives going for then?
I can't see it going for under $50.
I'm not sure.
I can't see it at all. So it's interesting because the idea that $700 is like a ton of money for a console that's as powerful as the PS5 is an interesting debate in and of itself.
Typically, the disc drive goes for $131 to $143.
Yeah, that's too much.
So $800. Now, where I do understand is that the PS5 Pro or the PS5 in general is actually, we're getting closer to the consoles being as powerful as computers. That's what I'm understanding. And people are definitely saying, like, you're not going to find a computer that's as powerful as the PS5 for $700. You're just not.
No, you're going to get some sort of like mobile Chromebook type thing no, you're not buying a $700 PC and gaming on it.
So I
Not
don't
seriously.
think I don't think it's worth it for me to make the upgrade to a PS5 Pro as a PS5 owner. However, if you haven't gotten a PS5, I guess get the normal version.
Does that
Save
finally
yourself
mean I can get
$200.
one? No.
I don't. Well, you know what we could do is someone that could be. Speaking of, we're following this theme of predation, right? I could hand me down my PS5,
No.
This is a good idea.
charge my brother a fraction of the price, and then put that money towards the Pro.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Well, actually, usually I'd be like, no, are you crazy? And the other part of me is like, he plays Xbox. Do it.
do it at a pity.
See, I get bullied in this. I am the victim here between these two.
It's not our fault that Microsoft's in the list too. of
Oh, yeah.
complaints. All right. So I think the issue with the PS5 Pro being $700, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. It's not, in my opinion, it's not that much more expensive than the PS5 was to begin. I mean, I remember people couldn't get your hands on a PS5. You
Yeah,
couldn't.
that's because of the pandemic, though.
Right. But people were buying them and reselling them for 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
Easy. I
I
mean, that's
remember
what they
buying
used
one
to
out
do
of the back of
prior
someone's
to-
trunk.
I can say if we
Not
go
for 1,000.
back, I'd say 10 years maybe, and that's just keeping it inside of a decade, like 10 years. If you go back before every store had a game section, it was that hard to get systems. Because I remember if you couldn't get it at Toys R Us, Best Buy,
Oh, it's
Kmart
been
sometimes
holidays
had
were
it.
always sold out. Yeah.
I mean, you were in that like that rush through the door where the door looked like it was going to collapse. And if you couldn't get the system that way, I think what alleviated that to a degree was more stores had game sections, and then the online market opened that floodgate of everybody can get it. It doesn't matter where you're at.
You just reminded me of the old Walmart video game section where the TV was up above and it had those controllers
It's
that
still
were
there.
connected. It's
It's
not the
not as
same.
like fun, but it's there, and they don't
Yeah.
really like everything's in a glass case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because we had to ruin it. Thieves. So, I'm trying to get this topic to its finish line here. The company announced powerful yet pricey, and in my opinion, it's not unhealthy for the industry. I don't think it's particularly healthy, right? But it's like popcorn. It's low in calories. It does nothing for you, but it's also not as bad as just slamming like sugar sticks, right? So there's worse things to think about. And that's how I feel about the PS5 Pro. If people don't want to pay that kind of money, there is a viable alternative. I don't like that phrase of if you don't like it, don't buy it, because oftentimes people say that in a market where there aren't very many other options, right? But in this case, there's already a PS5 and it's pretty darn good. So if you
Yeah.
want to save a couple $100, get the
I think
regular
they're shooting at
PS5.
the gap in between generations, and I
Listen.
think they're trying to
Yeah.
get the last little bit out of it where they can put in new stuff without it being a whole new thing.
I will say it's nicer looking.
Why? Because it has 3 lines instead of
She
two.
said, on that note, your brother does have Xbox. You're right.
I could use a little upgrade. Mine gets pretty heated.
Same conversation, ladies and gentlemen. There's no way. Well, now that you mention it. So there was another article that we had. Crystal also
yes.
found this one. So
I did a lot of research today.
let us know about it. What was it?
It's the sad one. It's the sad one, right? Is that the one you want me to talk about?
Yeah. Yes.
It's sad though. Okay, so Game Informer is shutting down. Now, for those that don't know what Game Informer is, it is a magazine that GameStop has, I guess, owned?
Yeah,
They currently owned it.
it's
yeah.
a part of their pro package.
Membership, yeah.
Is you get the magazine with it.
But I'm not convinced that they always owned it because Game Informer has been around for 33 years. And
yeah.
I'm pretty
they
sure
didn't-
GameStop wasn't around for 33 years.
Well, not on the same level, no.
Yeah.
No. So, Game Informer made an announcement on their website. As a matter of fact, if you go to their website right now, you'll just get the farewell statement from them saying goodbye, that they're shutting down. I'm sad about it because, like, I used to read through the magazines. I even own, I'm not going to get up and go grab it, but I own a magazine back there that has Apex Legends on it that I thought was really cool. And then when you go inside, you could see all the different new things that came with the new season. And I loved that. Like, I get why it's going away.
Why?
Who reads magazines?
The digital transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even their digital copies didn't do well, though, because who looks at their emails? Okay, I know people do.
Well, the website I feel like was a good in between, but I think it was dying, right? Everything you
Yeah.
said I agree with 100%. And ironically, based on our last topic, I think AI was the nail in the coffin because AI is now generating so much garbage on the internet
Yeah.
that they're basically, any magazine was already struggling. If they had tried to go digital, well, now we have hundreds all the time. Like, I would wager it's hundreds per week, if not hundreds per couple days of
I actually have an
articles.
article on it.
Yeah, there we go.
because the FTC actually had to step in, and this has to do with product reviews and then reviews in general.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking on this whole like episode kind of being dishonesty in a way, that's the biggest problem is that the FTC had to step in because there's so many fake reviews that it's destroying the market.
Yeah.
So let me see where fake review. Okay,
IGN is
so
not fake; they're just corrupt.
so there's some that like obviously they have like a little tip jar if you say like, oh, here's our game. How does it look? Here's an extra. Oh, your
Just
game
much
looks
more PC
amazing.
about it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of arguments inside of it. What's real, what's not, but it's not only happening in gaming; it's happening across the board where
Mm-hmm.
you have these fake review sites, and they're being generated by AI
Yeah.
that are generating all these fake reviews that are destroying honest companies.
Yep.
So the FTC, let's see what it said. Fake reviews permeate review sites today, deceiving millions of consumers and harming thousands of honest businesses.
Right.
So it's the same thing in the gaming realm where you have these websites and then this AI that's generating stuff, and people think like, "Oh, this must be real," and nobody wrote it.
Yeah.
Nobody put this out. It's just generating on itself.
So even if, let's say, Game Informer was doing okay, which obviously it wasn't, but even if it was, you can't compete with the idea that you're paying humans. Like the three of us, we do game reviews. It takes time.
Although Game Informer didn't do reviews, did it?
They did their
They did like
reviews.
interviews, reviews, overviews, upcoming games. They did a
Okay.
lot of stuff, but reviews were in there. I'm pretty sure they even had a number system. I'd have to go back in time and or
Yeah, they did. They had a scoring system.
Oh, okay.
so yeah,
So
yeah.
there's one part of it that it says in 6 years of research, I have found fake online businesses reviews across professions from doctors, dentists, lawyers, dog walkers, piano teachers, and children's charities. So like that's just insane how broad that like everybody get it.
It's everything. Yeah.
Mm.
So you have these companies that are in the mix of this, and there's a perfect example of it that we talked about it before, where they reviewed a specific game to be at a higher level than it probably should have been, and literally a week, if not 2 weeks after that review was released,
Concord.
the game got canceled. Like
Yeah.
shut down, canceled, not just like, hey, this game isn't doing good. And it's weird
Yeah.
to see, like, because you had Cyberpunk come out.
That
Did
wasn't
horrendous.
AI. Just for the record, that was
They were
that
paid.
was just
yeah.
that was just people getting paid.
But the dishonesty is there, and it's just
Oh, yeah.
it's gotten so just blurred. You can say that it's a person being paid off, or you can say it's AI, but it's hurting the business of all of it,
Yeah.
and that I think is the bigger point. And it's the predatory we're going back to. It's just going insane.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this kind of, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it feels like we're going to have to do a podcast dedicated to the notion of how can we wade through what's legitimate and what's even worthwhile. Because there could be illegitimate things that are actually worth looking at. And because, we've all used AI at some point, ask a quick question and you get a legit answer sometimes. And then there's the notion of, well, how do you know what's real and what's fake when it comes time to where you spend your money? Game reviews is a really good topic. Of course, it goes way beyond gaming, as you mentioned, but how are consumers going to be able to know which reviews are generated and which are legit? Right now, you can kind of tell, like, when it's really blatant with AI, but at some point, the AI is going to get good enough that it's going to come up with a fake name, right? They're going to create AI personas, and Bob Billy at IGN, just an example, is actually an AI, right? And he's just generating content for them for very cheap, and nobody knows any different.
I saw a specific comment about this recently, where it was like, basically, the only place they can trust for reviews is YouTube. Like, they have to watch individual reviews of games, because that's the only way that you're going to find out. And specifically from smaller content creators, in case you guys want somebody to watch.
Like Al Knight's Media.
Watch us. We don't get paid to talk about games. We just really love gaming.
We're losing money. Help.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I think there are other topics to explore there, but with the combination of things here, money is a big deal. It's always going to be a big deal, and it's a driving force behind all of these topics today. And so maybe next time we think about a financial topic and something that we can really put our fingers on, because it's almost like putting pins on the board and feeling like the conspiracy theorist. I'm seeing trends. I just don't know where they go yet. So we'll think about exploring that. Thank you guys for staying with us today. It was another episode of Gaming at the Round Table with Al Knight's Media. Thank you, Jojo, Crystal, and I'm Maverick. We'll talk again soon.